You see the headlines all the time, right? Talk of a potential U.S. attack on Iran. But what would that actually look like on the ground? Today, we're going to peel back the layers and break down the strategic pieces of a potential military campaign based on current analysis to really understand how an operation this massive would unfold. So let's just ask the question plain and simple. If the order was ever given, what would a U.S. attack on Iran really involve? This isn't just about a single strike or pressing a button. We're talking about a massive, incredibly coordinated effort in the air, on the sea, and across the entire region. Let's start putting the pieces together. Okay, so first things first. To even understand how an attack could happen, you have to look at what's already there. The U.S. military presence in the Middle East isn't just a handful of bases. It's a huge interconnected network, an American fortress, really, that's been carefully built up for decades. Let's look at the main pillars of that fortress. Let's start at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. Now, this is way more than just an airstrip. With 10,000 personnel, it's the absolute brain, the nerve center for all U.S. air operations in the region. Seriously, think about that. Every single flight, every drone mission, every potential strike, it would all be coordinated from this one spot. Okay, so that's the air. What about the sea? Well, for that, you look to Bahrain. That's home to the 5th Fleet headquarters. This is the command hub that controls all the critical waterways surrounding Iran. So you put Al Udeid and Bahrain together, and you can see how the U.S. has this incredible lock on both the skies and the seas all around the country. And believe me, it doesn't stop there. The network goes way deeper. Kuwait is the main logistics hub, for supplies and ground troops. Saudi Arabia hosts the Missile Defense Shield, the Patriot and THAAD systems. The UAE is where the eyes in the sky are based, the drones doing all the surveillance. And Jordan acts as a forward base for fighter jets. It's like a perfectly designed machine, with every single piece playing a critical role. So we have all these fixed pieces on the map, this incredible fortress. But what about the piece that moves? The real game changer. I'm talking about what's basically a floating airbase, and it adds a whole other dimension of power to this whole scenario. Now, we've all heard of aircraft carriers, right? But a carrier strike group, that is a whole different animal. It's not just one ship, it's its own ecosystem of power. You've got the carrier and its planes, of course, but it comes with its own bodyguards, a fleet of escort ships, and a silent hunter underneath, a nuclear submarine loaded with cruise missiles. It's basically an entire army and air force that can park itself anywhere in the world's oceans. So what's the big deal about a carrier? Well, it plays 3 absolutely huge roles. First, independence. It can launch attacks from international waters without needing anyone's permission. Second, defense. It creates its own powerful, layered shield against any attack. And third, and this is a big one, it's pure political messaging. When one of these floating cities shows up on your coast, it's a massive statement of intent. Okay, so we've put all the pieces on the chessboard, the fixed fortresses and the powerful floating queen. How do you actually play the game? How would an attack be orchestrated? Well, a modern air war isn't just chaos. It's more like a complex, deadly symphony. And every symphony needs a detailed score to follow. Any modern air campaign really boils down to 3 key pillars. First, command and control. Run out of that nerve center in Al Udeid, directing the whole show. Next, refueling. You've got to keep those jets gassed up midair, which is a massive logistical challenge. And finally, ISR. That's intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. These are the eyes and ears that see the entire battlefield in real time. And, all of this is being supercharged by AI, just trying to manage the insane complexity. So, with all of this incredible technological power, what's the actual goal? This quote really nails it. The primary objective probably wouldn't be to get into a slugfest with Iran's army. No. The goal would be to blind and deafen the system, to take out the regime's nervous system so it can't see, can't hear, and can't give orders. And that means the target list would be very, very specific. You're not hitting army barracks. You're hitting the command and control centers, the Revolutionary Guard's headquarters, the state security buildings. And ultimately, you're going right for the top political leadership. It's what military strategists call a decapitation strike. You cut off the head, and the body can't function. But here's the thing. You can't do all of that and expect the other side to just sit there and take it. When a regime is fighting for its very survival, all the normal rules go out the window. And Iran's response would be absolutely fierce. This is where things get truly dangerous. To get a sense of the scale here, just look at the numbers. In past, more limited retaliations, Iran launched around 500 missiles. But what if the regime's very existence was on the line? Military analysts expect a barrage of thousands of missiles and drones, a swarm designed to completely overwhelm every single defense in the region. It is a completely different ballgame. So let's just play this out. Let's say the military campaign works. The strikes are successful, the regime collapses. Victory, right? Well, not so fast. Because this is where the hardest part often begins. We have to talk about the profound danger of the day after. And for that, we really need to look at the precedent set in Iraq. This timeline is just a chilling warning. Remember 2003? Saddam's regime fell pretty quickly, but what came next wasn't stability. It was a complete power vacuum, and that vacuum was filled with chaos, a brutal insurgency, and eventually the rise of terrifying new terrorist groups. The result? More than 2 decades of instability that has rocked the entire region. So this brings us to the core problem when you think about Iran. There isn't some clear, unified government in exile just waiting to take over. The Iranian opposition is famously fragmented, split by deep historical divisions. So with no clear successor ready to step in, the risk of repeating that catastrophic power vacuum we saw in Iraq is incredibly high. Which leaves us with this final critical question. When you put it all together, you see the immense military power, the detailed blueprint for an attack, and the ferocious response that would likely follow. But maybe, just maybe, the real challenge isn't winning the war itself. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? In modern conflict, is the day after the hardest fight of all?